Hey everybody, my name is Josh with Late Start Piano. Today I want to share my thoughts and my reaction on the Get Back documentary with the Beatles. This came out, I think, a little while ago now, about 2020, 2022 maybe, but I just had a chance to watch it myself about a month ago, so I wanted to share my thoughts. I'm a huge Beatles fan. I will have a lot of Beatles covers coming up here soon. I already have some on the channel already, on the YouTube channel. But I love the Beatles. I think that they're the greatest band of all time. Just the way they revolutionized the music industry, the way they revolutionized pretty much everything as far as their imprint on bands that came after them. Took so many different ideas from the Beatles. Okay. And for those of you that don't know, the Get Back documentary is the hours and hours of footage of the Beatles during the last live performance that they ever gave. So in January 1969, they are beginning to record the Let It Be album, and it's also a documentary as well. So they have this film crew with them, and they're basically documenting their process about how they make the album. And they're kind of going back and forth. Is it going to be like a TV show idea? Is it going to just be a documentary movie? Where's this going to take place? And then at the end, so they start the album in January 69. At the end of the month, they are supposed to give a live performance of the brand new album. So in 1 month, they're supposed to come up with the songs, play the songs, record the songs, mix the songs, and then play the album all within 1 month. So that's a crazy fast time period. And also, they're working on this documentary at the same time. So there's a lot going on in this January 1969 documentary in the Get Back movie. And they're going back and forth on, where should a live performance be? Should it be in Italy somewhere, like in the catacombs? Was one of the ideas thrown out? Should it be, like on a mountaintop somewhere on a hill? Should it be over here? They're kind of just constantly coming up with new ideas about where they should play, even right up until the very end, which I'll get to in a second. But documentary is amazing. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you watch it. So there will be some spoilers here, just to give you a heads up if you haven't seen it. But for most of the documentary, I would say probably about 3/4 of the documentary is the Beatles just messing around. So they are running around the studio, literally. They're jumping on each other's shoulders. They are doing covers of other songs. They are, when they sing, they go real high like this, and then they go real low like this. They're making faces at each other. It's just funny. They're just having fun with it. They're in the studio. And keep in mind the pressure. They're supposed to have a brand new album and perform it live all within 1 month. And here they are just completely messing around and horsing around for, I'm not exaggerating when I say probably 3/4 of the film. If you get a chance to see it, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And that was the first thing that kind of stood out to me was they didn't really feel any pressure. They were having fun, or if they did, maybe that was their way of dealing with it. But they were just having fun. One of the Beatles would start off in a cover song, and then the other three would immediately jump in and pick up right where he had began. It was just incredible the amount of cover songs that they knew and how everybody could immediately just jump in. Ringo on the drums, or John on the guitar, and Paul on the bass, and George on lead guitar, whatever it was. Everyone would just jump in, and then you would see like a change of instruments. So Paul plays piano, he plays bass, he plays guitar, he's messing around on the drums even at times. Okay, he's playing all these different instruments and he's singing at the same time. You even have Ringo as well. He's playing the piano, and there's a scene in the movie where he's writing Octopus's Garden in the beginning of it, and George Harrison comes over and he's trying to help Ringo out with the chords to Octopus's Garden. They're all extremely musically talented. I know Ringo gets a lot of hate, and people say he's not a good drummer because everything he did was super easy, but they're all extremely talented, and they all played different instruments to some degree. So I guess the first two things I noticed was how many instruments they all played and how much fun they had in the studio. There's another great scene too where George is coming up with the beginning of something, or he introduces the song Something to the band, and he says, I've been working on this for a year. I'm kind of I'm at a loss now. I'm not sure where to go from here. And so he starts playing the chords, and you see John Lennon just looking at him intently, trying to figure out the chords that he's playing on guitar and trying to get in their rhythm as a band. And then you can hear Paul. He's the bass part where he has this walk down. He's working out that bass pattern in the song, and you can hear the space that Ringo leaves in the drums, and then he hops in right on that part as well. And it's just cool because George is saying he doesn't know what the lyrics should be, for the chorus. And when he literally sings, "I don't know," that's this part. "I don't know," right? And John is in the background. He's saying the lyrics don't matter. He's like, you don't want to think about the lyrics because you don't want to interrupt the flow of what you're doing. He said, just keep the flow down. So he's like, something, she makes me feel like cauliflower, pomegranate. He's just filling in the words that just come to him with the right rhythm or the right cadence to match up with what they need at the time. And I just thought that was a really good kind of gold nugget of information there from John. He's saying, when he writes songs, he's not really too concerned about the lyrics that he's singing. What he's concerned about is getting in that flow, getting in that rhythm, and just filling in whatever words come to your mind that make sense for the songs, that the rhythm makes sense. And then you can go back and edit the lyrics later. But when he's actually writing a song, he's telling George, you don't want to interrupt that flow. You want to just keep your state of mind going as is. You want anything to, again, interrupt that. So that was super cool to see. And then at the end, again, I was told you before earlier on that they don't even know where they're going to be performing this album. And eventually the idea comes around where they go to Apple Studios. They were in this recording studio before when they first started, and they didn't like it. They weren't getting the right sound that they wanted. It was this huge space. And then halfway through, they moved to their Apple recording studio, which is a much smaller space to record the rest of the album. And at the end, they say, well, whatever, let's just record the album. Let's do the live performance on the roof. And at first, it's like a joke. It's like people are laughing, and they're like, oh, could the roof even withstand the weight of all the instruments and other people on there, all the recording stuff that they would need? And, some of them, I think George Harrison said, he doesn't want to do the rooftop performance. But then Ringo, their relationship between George and Ringo was awesome in the movie, in the film. Ringo's like, I wouldn't mind doing it on the roof. I wouldn't mind doing a rooftop performance. And then George is like, oh, you wouldn't mind? And then eventually they all come around and they all agree. And totally unplanned again, they go up on the roof and they were going to just record the album, record it, but on the roof. Okay. And so they bring up all the recording stuff, and it kind of rolls into them giving the live performance. So they get back 3 or 4 times. They play I've Got a Feeling 3 or 4 times. They play Don't Let Me Down a couple times as well. And they're literally playing live a weekday morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, whatever, in January, so it's cold. And they're just playing the new album live. And this is after they haven't played live in a long time. And what was really cool is the film crew has people down on the streets, right? Because remember, they're on the rooftop. They're pretty high up. They have people on the streets interviewing just people passing by. And they're like, oh, do you like what you're hearing? And some people are like, no, I'm going to file a noise complaint. You have these older people. They're like, I'm going to file a noise complaint. I don't like all this noise. You have other people that are like, yeah, this is great. And then some people would say, oh, is this the Beatles? Is this the Beatles? It sounds like the Beatles. And it was just so funny to see that in real time, people being interviewed about their thoughts on it. And then they had this whole other scene where the police come and they try to shut it down, and they're kind of flipping the camera back between the Beatles playing on the roof and what's going downstairs in the building, with the front lobby people trying to keep the police down so that they don't shut down this impromptu concert. It was just incredible. It was awesome to see all this, as it was happening in real time. So those things are just kind of my thoughts. That's what I noticed off the bat watching the movie that I wanted to share with you. If you haven't seen it, please go ahead. It's a long movie, a long film. It's hours and hours that they cut out even to make this hours and hours long film. I think it's 3 seasons, 10 hours a piece, something like that. But definitely watch it. It's not like your typical documentary. It's not like people commenting. It's literally just them shooting live. So it's super raw. It's just them making the songs, them playing around, them talking to one another. It's not like an overdub of somebody going into the history of it all. It's not like that. So it's a little bit different, but if you like it, if you like the Beatles, if you're a Beatles fan and you haven't seen it, definitely go ahead and check it out. Just want to share my thoughts with you on that. Hope that helps. And let me know what you think in the comments if you've seen it, or if you haven't, go check it out and then let me know what you think. My name is Josh with Late Start Piano.